TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark savage!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark savage stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. We're ready for this next episode. I'm excited about it. Got a special guest for you guys tonight. James Gilliland is a good friend of mine, man. Somebody who I look up to. I try to mention his name as much as I can, dealing with spirituality, ufology, things along those lines. When I first started this podcast, it was called the Awakening Podcast, and had a couple episodes under my belt, and had the privilege to have James Gilliland on my show. And it was one of the biggest shows that I've done. And it was so funny because talking to him for the first time, I was like a little schoolgirl. Just talking to him, I was nervous. I had trouble formulating sentences and things. I was just so honored to have him on, just for doing so much research and listening to his work, and just hours and hours of stuff. So I'm privileged to have him on again. And I think that was back in 2012, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But that was in 2012 when I first started podcasting. So I'm excited to speak with him tonight. I haven't talked with him since, so this is going to be good. Quick update. We're going to be doing, for the patrons, everybody who's supporting, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be taking one of the podcasts away. I've been doing like 3 podcasts a week. And so we're just going to take one, and we're going to turn it into essentially an online school of the spirit. So a lot of people are wanting to get into activation. They wanted to get into community and try to make some of this stuff tangible in their lives versus just hearing about it. So what we're going to do is one day a week, probably Thursday nights, we'll just have just a community come together where we just share stories and experiences and try to teach you guys how to activate these giftings and callings and abilities that we've been talking about on the show for so long. And so much of it's just theory. We want to be able to equip you guys to go out there into the world and see change, with being able to sense things that's going on in people's lives to bring about change and stuff. So Thursday nights, we're going to be doing that. It's going to be the online school of the spirit. If you're supporting on Patreon, you'll have access to that whole membership. Head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah, and there you can sign up to give and unlock a bunch of special features. And we also have unreleased music over there. I've been working on a lot of music, and it's available over there on the Patreon. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, everybody who has been supporting. You guys mean the world. I'm excited about 2018 and what is going on now. Speaking of 2018, me and James was kind of getting into a little discussion, before we went live, and I was like, hold on, we got to hold that until we go live, because it's too good. And we're going to talk about that. James Gilliland, welcome to the show, brother. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Man, it's good to see you again, brother.
Yeah, you too. And I just wanted to say, I put my pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. So
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, I always tell people, it's like, when you start worshiping things outside of yourself, you're diminishing your own God connection or spirit creator connection. And that's going on so much right now. It's kind of sad. That needs to come to an end. But people are figuring it out, and they're realizing that the real connection is through themselves.
Yep. And it's being authentic. And that's something that
exactly.
Even though, because it's something that you didn't do. You haven't painted yourself to be this big guru or try to portray yourself in a certain light or an image. You're just James. You show up. What you see is what you get. I watched a video just a while ago of you and Peter jamming out, playing music and just having a good time, just being dudes, bro. So I think that's a big thing too, because that was a hurdle for me to get over. Because people, we talk about these deep esoteric subjects and having, these different interactions with ETs and aliens and things like that. People look at that as being so spiritually advanced, but we're just down to earth. So where is the connection there? Because your fans want you to be this Jesus figure when you're like, I kind of am, but I'm a regular dude too. How do we join that together?
Yeah, it's real. Excuse me. It's real important to realize that, what I do is I teach people to lead themselves and to make their own personal connection with Creator, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, and that's so important nowadays. And because I was kind of gifted a drowning, which blew me wide open, and a few other near-death experiences and things like that. But that also accompanied probably 35 years of intense study and initiations with yogis and lamas and things of that nature, but eventually it's one of the lamas. I love what he said. He said, the reason there's so few enlightened people on the planet is because it's so damn simple, and he said, get out in nature, meditate, focus on love and joy and bliss until you become it. He said, that's the key. And he said, there's just so many distractions, and the outer world is such a controlling situation where they're always trying, keep your nose to the grindstone, keep you busy, keep you chasing that American dream, and happiness through external circumstances. And you look at a lot of the music and the TV industry and things like that, it locks you in the first three chakras, survival, sex, and power.
Yep.
And, where's the heart? Where's the higher consciousness and energy? And luckily, there are people in the industries now starting to bring this information out, and they're doing higher work and, telling people to stand in their own divinity and be authentic, like you're saying, and, respect your own being. It's like, this PC correct thing is so ridiculous. I see this stuff going on. And it's just another big mind control trip. They want to get everybody, on controlled, on the same page. And it's just another big mess. But you're like you're saying, your real power comes from being authentic.
That's true, man. Because once you finally do that, people envy that. It's like, hold on, how is this guy? He's laughing, he's smiling, he's crying. He's distraught. You're just being yourself, and other people have this shell, this exterior layer of this person that they have to pretend to be. And I had to go through that with my fans, and they want me to be this supreme esoteric guru, which I guess in a case I am in a sense, but then in a sense I'm a regular person too, and both are okay. It's not like I can't show you the regular side who was cheering for the Alabama football game last night. I'm in Alabama, So, and joining the two, man,
Exactly. It's like people put me up on a pedestal, I burp and fart and tell bad jokes. And I have a wicked sense of humor sometimes, but I usually use it for, teaching and helping people. But, I tell you, there's this weird concept that people don't think that's not God.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, wait a second. Maybe that if God's omnipresent, that's God too. It's like they have, like, I had this one woman send me this email just a little while ago, and I was talking about all the stuff plaguing the planet right now. And I was talking about, the pedophilia stuff, the satanic worship, all that stuff. And she's going, well, I'm totally disappointed with you, because you're not enlightened, or you wouldn't talk about this stuff. You're doing fear porn. And I said, well, actually, I'm not in fear, at all. I've already died a couple times. That's not a problem. I said, and basically you're afraid to look at these things. And I said, you're trapped into Stanford University program, a mind control program, where you're supposed to see everything is good and everything is love. And if you look at the dark side, then it's you. And so don't look at it, don't address it. And they have all these programs. A lot of the New Age teachings, unfortunately, are like a half truth. They don't cover the whole thing. And and I told her, I said, being enlightened means to be in knowledge of all of it, both sides of the coin. And you just can't look at one side of the coin and deny the other side, even if it's within you. And we've done. I've had past lives. I have full memory of my past lives. I was a Viking warrior. I hacked off heads. I was a road bandit here in Mexico. I'm in Mexico now. It's like I've done a lot of things. And I've also been yogis and lamas and things like that, and flew spacecraft and everything else, but we have to look at all aspects of ourselves. And if we're still carrying energy around the ones where we had wounds and traumas and things like that, we need to own it, and heal it. And the more you know yourself, the more you have compassion for the people that are acting out these roles, that are stepping outside of universal law. So it's important to look at both sides. And again, if you're trying to be something else, if I'm trying to wear white robes and sandals and say all the right thing, and be celibate, and don't eat meat, and how they have all these rules that you're supposed to do. It's
the unspoken rules,
yeah. I mean, you're not being authentic. You're being something else. You're not being true to your soul, and you're not aligned with your soul. And the more you're authentic, the more you're aligned with your soul, and the more you're in your power. So, people need to break out of all these programs, and look at your dark side, own it, heal it, get the charge out of there. Focus on universal law, and basically just focus on creating heaven on earth. It's really that simple.
When it comes to like having all these experiences and all these encounters and stuff, and they kind of, I don't know about you, but it almost seems like for me, all my work now is built upon like these foundational encounters or foundational experiences and stuff. Do you still see as much activity, or is there still as much of a hunger to kind of get the information out? Because I know, especially whenever I reached out to you in 2012, which was whenever so much fear stuff was out there, the new movies coming out about these evil aliens coming to abduct people. I think it was The Fourth Kind had just come out, and you put out a newsletter talking about, man, I'm just growing weary in well-doing. And I wrote you about that. And are you still as hungry for it? Do you still have as many encounters with the spirit realm and entities as you did as day one, or are you just kind of still sharing those fundamental truths that you learned from those days?
Well, it's even more so. I mean, it expands. People, when we have a ship come over and power up, and I see everybody get excited, they go, this never gets old for you. And I said, what doesn't get old is the other people getting excited and waking up. That never gets old. For me. And I've just done more and more research. And then I find I get so much information from the higher dimensions and planes. And then I do the research and then find out everything they're telling me, and the experiences and the beings that I'm seeing on the other side are actually in history, and they're in ancient history, and to take a walk on the wild side, you've got these feline beings and lion beings and things like that. And then you go to Egypt and you see these statues of Sekhmet and the Sphinx and, all these other things going on, which actually the Sphinx used to be a lion, and some king decided to put his head on it, carved it out later. But actually, these are all recorded throughout ancient history, and they're all part of our history. And the real story behind the origin of man, the Anunnaki, all of that stuff is in the Sumerian text. The tablets. It's on walls. It's in Australia, Gosford glyphs. It's the whole history of the Earth is written in Australia on the Gosford glyphs. And it talks about, the basically the knuckle dragger, the Denisovian man that was here evolving naturally when the ships came, and then they added their DNA and they needed a worker force, and they're trying to save their planet because when it looped around the sun, it would lose a lot of its atmosphere and it'd be a mess. So they're putting, gold dust in their sky, just like these other idiots are putting aluminum and barium and all these toxic things, in the sky instead, and, through the geoengineering. But, it's the same thing, only they were doing a little smarter. I would love to be inhaling gold dust, versus barium, aluminum.
Yeah, barium.
Strontium and a whole host of other biologicals, like toxic molds and things like that playing with, so it's there's a lot going on in our ancient history. We really, as humanity, really needs to know their origins. We need to know where we came from, and it's kind of a complicated story because there's much more going on than it's not just one thing. It's a multiple of things that happened in the past. So basically we had these ancient Lyrians, very tall people came. They found the Denisovian man. They jumped him up. They got the gold, and this actually started in Australia, not in Africa. And then from there they went to Africa. And the African, what's really interesting is that the gold in Egypt actually came from Ballarat, Australia. And that really messes up a lot of their theories. And almost everybody has Aboriginal genes. We all have Aboriginal genes. All of us do. In the genome experiment, we found that out. And that goes back to the Denisovian man and the uplink that happened there. But we're not just that, because there's been several terraforming processes, colonization processes that happened on the Earth. And people had to start over due to pole shifts and other cataclysms and great wars and things. And so we're a big mix of mainly 12 major star nations that were involved in terraforming the Earth and bringing their plant and animal and their human genetics too as well here, and as well as the Earth man that was developing naturally. So, and that's been upgraded several times. I should say man, woman. I should say both, but. We're just a big mix, and that's what the genome experiment has brought out, that there's so much alien DNA, there's so much plant life and animal life that was brought here. It didn't evolve naturally. All of this is showing up in the geological records, who built the great temples in the past that we can't build today. There's some very advanced beings that came here, and they've been coming and going for a long time.
It's insane too, because we're still finding new plant life and new insects and all of these things that they've never, categorized. And it's really interesting that you bring that up. One thing I wanted to make sure that we touched on, which I briefly spoke on, I've been podcasting for a while. I probably started around 2011, and it was just off and on, never consistent. I've been consistent for almost a year now of just podcasting and making sure that I have a schedule. But I've been off and on since 2011, 2012, 2013, all that stuff. And when it was really deep, the David Wilcock exploded, the 2012 Enigma, Mayan calendar, all of that stuff. There was something that happened in my heart, this spiritual awakening, and it seemed to kind of grow in the lives of people around me, and you see an interest in these esoteric subjects and the third eye and spirituality and things, kind of a re-emergence of it. But then we're talking about 2018. 2018, we're off to an awesome start, and even more. I've been podcasting since that time, and I've gotten messages and I've gotten respect and response and stuff. But these last couple months, I haven't been doing anything different, James. I'm showing up and being authentic, but my inbox is blowing up. Something's happening in the hearts and lives of people around here.
It is.
And you were talking about how that we may not be in 2018, that we may just be going into 2012, and with the whole Mayan prediction as well. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, actually, there's a lot of mistakes being made. People are using the Gregorian calendar to tell us what time it is, and trying to adjust that to the Mayan calendar. And I mean, you'll get a lot of heat when you start talking about this. And I was talking about it in 2012.
Yeah.
And I said, Mark Antony didn't become Caesar for 5 years, and they were keeping the calendar according to the Caesars. So, there's leap years and other things, and we're at least 5 years off, with the Gregorian calendar. So, if you take those 5 years, those and then add them to 2012, 2017 would actually be, because you've got 5 missing years, and would be 2017 would actually be 2012. And so it's December 21st, 2017 is when everything is supposed to hit the fan. And you can see right now, I mean, it's hit the fan. We are undergoing one of the biggest shifts that humanity has ever experienced right now. And it's happening on every level. The NASA has realized that we're going through an extremely energized place in space. They finally admitted it. The cosmic rays are off the scale. The gamma rays, X-rays, all the other rays are just going nuts. And the sun is reacting to this, with its activity, and it's been going off like crazy. So, the sun is the driver. The sun is the driver for climate change and everything else. Things heat up first because of the sun, and then you get the methane release and the greenhouse effect and everything else. So man's addition, and this is going to upset a lot of people, but man doesn't really do that much to the planet. I agree that we definitely need to start bringing out the fuelless energy technology and cleaning up the planet. But at the same time, a volcano does a lot more, to the atmosphere than man does. And if they just allowed the Earth to do her thing and stopped all this geoengineering, when the Earth heats up, when she heats up, there's more earthquake and volcanic activity, but it creates a cloud cover, and more moisture gets into the atmosphere, and she defends herself. She'll get through these times naturally. If these other guys knock off what they're doing, they're making everything 10 times worse. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, we're going to save the Earth by killing it. We're going to poison, we're going to dump so much aluminum that all of your trees and gardens and everything are not going to be able to bring up nutrients. We're going to put so many heavy metals in your system that you'll never, hit your optimum health again. And we're going to turn your blue skies into a gray toxic mess in the entrance of saving the planet. And this is this is being done by psychopaths. These guys have not thought this out at all. But the main thing is that the nice thing about now is that we've been under what they call the draconian grid, or the Archon grid, that's been running the planet. And it's that's coming to an end. That grid is being torn down. There's a 5th dimensional grid taking its place. And are you still with us?
Yes. Okay, you're there.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know, where did we cut off? So that grid's coming down. There's a new grid taking its place, and the Earth, she's expanding as well. She's evolving, ascending. And so you've got the Earth ascending. You've got this universal law, this 5th dimensional grid pressing in, and the higher dimensional beings behind it, the source itself behind it. And then you've got in the middle, you've got humanity that has to, go to the next level. We have to go up to the next level we have to rise to the occasion, basically become frequency specific to the Earth's ascension process if we're going to stay here. And that's what people are undergoing right now. It's like the old draconian grid's been torn down, a new one's taken its place. The days of tyranny are coming to close, because those people that are focused on domination and control of others and enslaving the planet and destroying those guys are all imploding. That energy is a very heavy, dense energy, and their worlds are coming to an end. That's collapsing right now. And when you get into the darkest aspects of that, and this is going to upset some people, you go into the pedophile, satanic worship, child sacrifice stuff. That's the darkest level of that on the planet. But you also have other energies above that. You have non-human influences, and that's why there's so much inhumanity on the planet, because these are non-human influences. Mm-hmm. So all that's being cleaned up right now. And we just need to pull away. Don't support the beast. Don't, unhook your wagon from the beast, because it's about ready to go off the cliff, and start creating heaven on earth, and, work along with universal law, basically.
Just to let everybody know, we're going to be opening up the phone lines. The numbers scrolling across the top of the screen, as well as in the descriptions on all the social media platforms and websites. So if you got a question for James or myself, feel free to call in. We're making ourselves available to answer any questions that you guys have. So make sure you take advantage of that. We'll be taking calls here shortly. Wanted to go into a little bit about this whole recent NASA or the government releasing this footage of this UFO or whatever that thing was that was in sight of that fighter pilot. And then they're finally like, no, we don't research this stuff. We're not into space exploration or aliens or nothing like that. And then they admit that they've been spending all of this money on UFO and alien research. I know what's coming, and I think we have a similar idea of what's coming. But if you want to vocalize, man, what do you think that whole thing is with NASA and the government finally coming out, trying to give disclosure about the UFO phenomenon and what's taking place?
Yeah, that's a mess. The same people, they have a new star. They're putting star power behind it, to get this out. But it's the same people involved as the old disclosure. And what's sad is that, there are some really good people like, Michael Salla and Alfred Weber are doing their disclosure
definitely.
stuff and everything else. They're bringing out that, some really top information. But, there are a lot of posers and a lot of other stuff going on. And, the same group is trying to keep it in the past, Roswell, things like that, keep it nuts and bolts. Yeah. And keep you in fear. It's all bad. And even there's some saying it's all good, which is also totally irresponsible because it's not all good. But, the bottom line is that, disclosure, why not disclose all of it? We've been undergoing a transdimensional war. We've won that part of it. Now it's coming to Earth, and the cleanup is happening on Earth. There's a huge amount of positive influence coming in and help that's coming in right now that they're not addressing. They won't address that. You've got the Pleiadians, the Orion Council of Light, the Arcturians, Andromedans, and Sirians, a whole host of other beings that are coming to help liberate the Earth, from these other forces. You're not hearing anything about that. And they're not, they're keeping it to are they real? That's are they real? It's like, my God, how long are we going to do this? It's like, they had a big flyover Texas. They had a bunch of ships fly over Texas, which was really interesting. And they did a poll on the local news there, and 99% of the people believe that UFOs are real in this poll. Now, they did Time CNN polls a while ago, and they were like 86 to 90% of the people saying that there is a government cover-up and UFOs are real. So, disclosures happen. The people already know, this is a reality. There are some people living in the dark ages that want to make it all demons, make it all not real, or it doesn't, or say it's all the secret space fleet. Come on. Yeah. These things have been coming here before the secret space fleet existed. So
I think the thing that sets it apart, especially people going out and making contact for themselves, is that the secret space program don't communicate telepathically with you. Yeah. And tell you about yourself and communicate, right?
I had some of these guys, I won't mention his name but they're on the old disclosure thing, some of these guys, and they're at the ranch, and they flew one of those craft over the ranch, and everybody got excited and go, it's a triangle ship, it's a UFO, it's one of those TR3s.
Yep. Yep.
And then they flew another thing over, and it was a real stealth jet that looked like a UFO. And both times they were trying to set me up, and and this thing came in, and I looked at it and I said, "It's not a UFO."
Yeah.
And they got really upset. Even the people that were there seeing it got really upset.
You want it to be so bad.
Yeah. And I said, "I'm sorry, it's not a UFO." And they go, "Why?" And I said, "There's no consciousness there."
Yep.
I said, "I'm not getting any hits, any signals, nothing from these guys. Whoever's on that jet or that plane is just a regular dude, a regular guy." And so sure enough, we found out later that it was like kind of a bit of a setup, but we've had other ships come in and everybody's getting excited. I go, "This isn't good. This is not a good one."
Oh, wow.
And it came in, and I could feel the energy around this thing. And there was probably 50 or 60 people watching this come in. And then we saw a huge blue flash in the sky, and this ship just turned into powder. I mean, there was nothing left of it. And I found out later from the other guys, they said that was a reptilian ship, and they said that they dealt with it with the same energy that it was coming, with the same intention. It was coming to do harm, and they dealt with it. It was coming for deadly force. They dealt with it with deadly force. So it's a universal law. Kind of they can interact. And so the way you deal with the negative ones is you make friends with the positive ones.
Exactly. And that's what, because like I get, coming out of religion, and I deal with a lot of people who are coming out of religion, and I'm patient with a lot of them. And so a lot of it is demonic to them. If you meditate, demons will inhabit your body, things like that.
Yeah.
And, you know what I'm saying? They want to know, how can I be sure? It's like, well, you need to get in contact with the beings of light, those who have your best interest in mind, right? And and if you do that, then you have nothing to fear, and because love casts out fear. And there's scriptures upon scriptures, even for those who are in that, to understand that that love conquers all, and love is greater than any darkness. And so when it comes to having your own encounters and stuff, I'm just afraid of what I don't think I'm afraid of. I just know what's going to happen. I know that eventually they're going to sway this whole UFO thing that they're letting out, and they're letting the cat out of the bag when disclosure's been happening on the ground level. I know they're going to sway it for the bad and say that they're going to create this new Al-Qaeda, this new threat, a threat that we need to come together and, fight against, and, bring about these new laws and these new, taking away our rights and things like that. They use all of this stuff to do that,
Yeah, these, I tell you what, they're controlling the narrative, basically, is what they're doing, and that's what you have to be careful with. And there's nothing to fear about the ones coming. It's the ones that have been here.
Exactly.
And they've been here for a long time, ever since the beginning. They've been here since the original Anunnaki. The fallen Anunnaki are part of it. There's malevolent grays involved in it, and some reptilian serpent beings and some other hybrid type of beings that are involved. But those are all being cleaned up right now. And they're being cleaned up by the benevolent ones. And, if people want to really do the research, these beings are all throughout the Bible. They're all throughout the Vedic scriptures. You read Ezekiel. I'll tell you now, this is going to be a hard one for some people. In Ezekiel, they have a shiny disc comes out of the firmament. It has bronze feet like calves. It has fire and brimstone coming out from underneath it. When it lands, it sounds like 1,000 rushing rivers.
Yeah.
What is that? I mean, that's pretty obvious. That's a ship, And when it lands, out of it come cherubim with wheels within wheels with flashing lights all around them. Those are the little shuttlecraft that come out of it. And then this man that they call God, supposedly, steps out and orders 6 men with their shattering weapons to destroy all the men, women, and children of Israel. And they do. They lay the whole place to waste. And then he orders a man dressed in white linen to reach into the bowels of the cherubim, pull out hot coals, spread them around the city, and henceforth anybody who comes there will die a hideous death. Their hair and fingernails will fall out, and there'll be food for the raven and the beast. Okay, the white linen is probably a radioactive garment, and the hot coals are most likely some kind of radioactive material. And that's what happens. You know, your hair and your fingernail falls out and you die, you know. And so, but, you know, if we're looking at this from a superstition point, you know, from a superstitious thing, we're not going to understand what really happened there. And that's the origin of the wrathful God. And so in the Old Testament, you have this wrathful God that was a genocidal maniac, basically, that was a jealous, wrathful, you know, you should fear God and everything else. And then you have Jesus showing up and he says, I bring a new covenant, an all loving, all forgiving God, a whole new image. And that's where people are really struggling with this, because they're afraid of becoming toast by doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because of this old thing that happened in the past, historical thing. And this is going to be a really hard pill to swallow for people, but almost all of the bearded gods were these ancient ancestors. They were the bearded gods were the Anunnaki, the Greek gods, all of them were the same beings. Some were very loving and serving, and some were self-serving, and some were tyrants. And they had their turf wars between themselves. And that's a lot where a lot of the religions came from. And I'm not saying these books are incorrect. They are historical accounts of things that happened, but we have to evolve and look at them with what we know now to really understand what happened in the past, because you also had this, there's a prophecy, they said there shall come a great one that'll bruise the head of the one who bruised the head of man. Yeah. And they're talking about Jesus, who came with the good guys and threw these other guys out, you know, and kicked them out. And then, you know, and again, he keeps speaking of an all-loving, all-forgiving God. And he also says the temple is within, that God is within you. You know, it's closer than the hair on your head. And, you know, everything he talks about was making your own personal connection and getting rid of the fear of being, you know, punished and killed and all that others, you know, all the fear and guilt and unworthiness. You got to drop that program, because that keeps you from making your own personal connection, which is pure love and joy and bliss. You know, that's basically what that connection is.
Good stuff, brother. Let everybody know again that the phone lines are open. I'm going to take this question from the chat room. This is Ginger says, great to see this duo. And this is for you. And we've already discussed this on the last podcast, but we can go over it again. It says, what type of lasers have you guys discussed using to signal crafts? How are they used? And can either of you direct us to a recommended source to find out more? Ginger.
Yeah, you know what I have a friend in Japan that brings these lasers and gives them to me all the time. You can get them on Wicked Laser.
Wicked lasers, yeah.
Yeah, and you're not going to hurt the ships, you know, by shooting lasers up at them. They know what you're doing. And it's not so much the laser, it's the intention. These beings are extremely telepathic. They're very spiritually and technologically advanced beings, and it's about your intention. You don't really need the laser, but you can, you know, shoot the laser, say, hey, we're over here, you know, just let them know.
It's like a physical representation of your consciousness. As long as you just connect it, it's like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. But, you know, just about any laser work. But it's not so much the laser, it's the thought, you know, that. And by shooting the light, your intention is to connect to that ship, you know, and they get it. They pick it up and they respond.
I've had some beautiful encounters with the green lasers, and I put some of it in my music too. I signally tease with my laser beams, you know. I put some of it in my music, and they're like talking to him. It's like, hey, you know, I really do that. Like that's I didn't just put that in there, you know. So it's funny when people come back with the lyrics. What did you mean by that? And then I get to show them your videos of you going out there. So, you know, I put it in the music videos and stuff too.
It's great you're doing that, because I always say the same venue that's ensnared people can free people.
Oh yeah.
And the same thing, it's like the internet can totally free people. You know, by bringing this new information out. So that even through the word, you can through the word bring people back that got confused by the misuse of the word.
Heck yeah. I remember I was like, you know, years ago, I was kind of turned off by the internet. Like I used the internet, but I was turned off because I seen Facebook and I seen social media in the early stages of what it was doing to our we're totally different now. Everybody's changed. Like it was taboo to be on your phone at a table. Now it's like everyone does it, you know. So I was upset with that because this Facebook of this global web was mimicking the global brain in this one consciousness that we're all always connected. You can walk in the room and feel what your brothers and sisters are going through spiritually. Like you can feel that. And now we're always connected via Facebook. And it was just like a mockery of it. And I was so against it because, but now I guess we have to work with it now, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the technology we have right now is just to take over the failure of the spirituality. Yeah. Not doing our spiritual work, So, and that's a problem, that we're dealing with. But like you're saying, a cell phone, do you really need the cell phone? I know who's calling me before they call me. And people connect with me and then I call them, they go, God, I was just thinking about you. And I said, I know, so you can use it, but you don't really need it. You can actually transcend it. But, right now, I think it's just like money and things like that. It's the accepted exchange of society right now. So we have to use it we can use it for good or you can use it for negative, and hopefully there comes a day when we won't need money, that will transcend that and be like the other higher dimensional beings. But
it's a tool just like anything else, and it can be used for good or bad. Research, self-promotion, getting your message out there. Yeah,
I just send it. When things come to me, it just goes in one hand, out the other. Like I don't, and I'm not attached to it, and I don't really care about it. And a lot of people think there's something crazy with me, because I'm always just passing it on. But I said, hey, the more I pass it on, the more comes. And that's been the truth all along. It's like the more you're in service mode and helping others, the more comes to you. So
I'm going to jump to the phone lines here, take one of these callers. We have a caller from New York. Caller, welcome to the show. Who are we speaking with?
This is Tara in Long Island.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. I have a question. What do you guys think about the fact that maybe technology is being withheld from us, or the truth is being withheld because we seem to weaponize every technology we discover, and maybe that's why it's being withheld for, responsibility reasons?
Yeah, definitely. Well, what's the truth of the matter is we have all the technology we need right now for fuelless energy. We have healing technologies. We have this thing called the 24-hour soldier, where a soldier can have his arms and legs blown off, and they put him in this thing and it regenerates them. We have amazing technology that's already on the planet. But again, like you're saying, it's been withheld, and it's used within the black budget projects and things like that. And I think that is going to come to an end here this next year, and all that's going to start being released. I know where some of this technology is, and especially the fuelless energy technology and things like that. And I've been instrumental in getting that ready to be released, and so and some of the healing technology as well. So that's one of my missions, is to bring this out, and especially the healing technologies. And we have these magnetic light tables that you lay on these tables, and they actually create a communication with your etheric body, which is your perfect it's like the perfect your perfect self, or what do you even call it, the perfect imprint. And it creates a communication from that level right straight into your physical cells, and repatterns, reprograms everything. There's a lot of oxygen therapies coming out, water technologies, crystallized oxygen, which is amazing. Cancer is anaerobic. It hates oxygen. You increase the blood oxygen and raise the pH, and cancer it backs it right out of your system. So all that stuff's available.
I'm wondering if they're worried that everyone's going to live forever kind of thing, and then we'll run out of places to park. What do you think?
I mean, there's a lot of planets out there that can sustain life, much more than we can imagine. And,
True.
And it's really not a problem. The problem is consciousness. It's not overpopulation. The problem is consciousness, because if you live, if you're aligned with the land, you can have a lot of people together and you can build things you wouldn't even know they were there and maintain the natural aspect to it. And there's a lot of ways of doing that. And we have the land and we have the technology now to drill the wells, to build the homes that are sustainable and, the fuelless energy and everything else. There's no problem with that. Our biggest problem that we have is this cabal and these guys that have been siphoning trillions of dollars and withholding all these technologies from the people. And that's being changed as we speak. And these people are being rounded up and their assets are being taken and put back into the treasury. And, they found like almost $550 trillion missing, with the Federal Reserve and these other guys. Well, you can imagine putting that back into the treasury and back into the infrastructure and taking care of poverty and homelessness and everything else. That's going to take care of a lot of problems. And then you also have this mass wealth that's going to be earmarked for humanitarian reasons that the Chinese elders are releasing as well. But we have to get these other guys out of the way so they can't divert it and steal it like they have been in the past. And that's what we're doing right now. So we're going to go through some really big changes, and they're really good. And this tyranny program and the gross uneven dispersal of wealth and all this stuff is coming to an end here, and it's going to happen very quickly.
Yep. There was some whistleblowers.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Thanks, Fran. Appreciate you calling in. Thank you. There were some whistleblowers some years ago who, and we've totally seen it since then, which were saying that whatever you've seen in Hollywood, whatever you see in the movies, just know that we already have that technology. If you can think it, we have scientists that have already created it. And there's so much stuff. I mean, I remember when they were talking about guns that shoot around corners. There was a movie that came out years ago with, I think it was like, I want to say like Ben Affleck and Angelina Jolie or something. But they were like these special detectives, and they had guns that they would hold to the wall and it would shoot around corners. And then several months after that came out, they started showing this technology where they had guns that would actually do that, like these mirrors, and they'd hold it up to the wall and it would shoot and hit the target perfectly. And there's just so much technology that whatever's in the media, whatever's in the movies, they've already got the stuff, and we're so many years behind. I've heard it said, I don't know if this is true, probably, but I've heard it said we're 50 years behind whatever you see in the movies, that we have 50 years ahead of that technology.
Minimum. We have
probably way more.
We're actually developing ships right now in the Black Project that are jumping dimensions right now. I think one of the problems with them is that the pilots, they get on these ships and they have like a near-death experience when they start jumping dimensions, and they come back and they don't want to work they don't want to be a part of the program anymore, so it's kind of, but no, we have I've held a device in my hand that's as big as a small pie plate, and it had 9 coils in it. Each coil put out 25,000 watts, and it was ice cold. And that'll run a town basically. And and we tried to kill it. I mean, we hooked it up to all these power strips, and we put the biggest load we could on it with everything. We couldn't stop it. So that stuff's on the planet right now. And, we have technology too. You could drop this device down, and this device will actually run on water. It'll take even sewer water, purify it. It'll come out crystal clear, oxygenated with crystallized oxygen in it. And the toxin stuff is burned off and creates energy, and actually drives the device, plus provides all the energy you need for the whole town. That's a game changer right there. You just drop it in the village, bam, everybody's hooked up, and pure water. I
think it's crazy that like in the mainstream we hear about this stuff a little bit, but that's it. You hear about it. You hear about these different things that they have created, machines that they have created where they can burn off plastic, like old plastic, and recycle plastic and use it as fuel. But then they don't do it, and there's all this waste that they can use to make fuel out of. You hear about it, but then they don't do it. It's insane.
I'll tell you what. Here's an interesting thing, because it's really hard for people to wrap their head around this, but you have to take it in baby steps, basically. So first of all, you go, hey, guess what? Did you know that you could run your car on water? That they're already splitting water, and you could run your car on water. And then, guess what? You know what? You don't even need water. You could use these these generators, and they'll charge your batteries, and you can run your electric car and go forever. You never have to stop for fuel. And then you could take the next step. You know what? You don't even need batteries. You could put this thing in there and it'll run your car without the batteries. And now you can go forever. You can drive the tires off your car. And then the next step would be, guess what? You don't even need tires. that you could actually beam up, your car. You could shift frequencies on your car, and you could jump and be in Australia for breakfast and come back to France for dinner and do whatever you want. That's total freedom. And that technology we already have today. Yep. But it's hard for people to understand that they're still thinking, oh God, if I could just get that water technology, and and some people don't even realize that
years ago, man. Yeah.
They don't even realize the water technology is here, and a lot of people don't realize that a lot of our ships and things like that now are actually running on water. Mm-hmm. They're not running on diesel, and that's kind of a hidden thing. I probably shouldn't talk about it, but they don't need all these major ships and vessels out there and things like that the military stuff doesn't even need. They don't need diesel anymore.
Jumping back to the phone lines, we got a caller from looks like it says Pinecrest, California. Caller from California. Who are we speaking with?
Hey, what's going on, Derek? Yeah, I'm calling in from Brightmoor. I just wanted to ask James Gilliland a little something. How you doing, James Gilliland? I'm a big fan.
Oh, thanks. Doing great.
So this is somewhat of a problematic question, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it out there. I've been following your work. I've been following a lot of people's work. L.A. Marzulli, Graham Hancock's work, Erich von Däniken's. Mm-hmm. But this is going on the darker side of things. What do you think about what Michael Heiser is pushing with StitchinIsWrong.com? Moreover, all of these debunking YouTubers that are very popular right now that are debunking everything, L.A. Marzulli, people like you, Graham Hancock, Erich von Däniken's pushing out, and moreover, the way they're diligently shooting down ancient aliens. What are your thoughts on that? And I'll take my question off the air, and I wish you guys the best. Yeah. Many blessings, and I can't wait to hear what you think. Bye-bye.
God bless, Leo. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like, some of these guys, like I know L.A. Marzulli once was saying that, we're opening gates to demons and things like that a long time ago. I think he's changed his position now. I'm not sure. But they come from a religious background. Yeah. And again, that's this box thinking of, there's God, and then there's the devil or Satan, and then there's angels and demons and heaven and hell. And it's a very narrow scope of things. And they have to fit things within their program or their belief system and things like that. And some are breaking out of it more and more. And a lot of the information has, it has some truth to it, and then it has a twist at the end. Yeah. And so you have to use your own discernment on these things. But, it's with ancient aliens. I know those guys, and I've talked to them several times, and I said, you guys, why are you still anchored in the past? I said, it's happening now. And Erich von Däniken, all these guys, I've had face-to-face conversation with them. I said, you guys, what's going on? I go, why? I said, it's happening now. We're having contact now. All the people you talked about are back. They're here now. The temple builders, everything. Why don't you cover that? And they just said, we're only interested in antiquity. We don't care. Yeah. And it's sad, because they're, they're in a way they're giving you some truth, but it's a half truth. Why not bring the whole truth out?
The sad thing is for me, man, is like, I think that's why my show's flourishing. My show's doing really good right now, James. I think it's because I come from the religious background, and I'm not afraid to address it and speak as an authority. And I've been on both sides. So when I came into ufology, it was under Lynn Marzulli and so many other names, Guy Malone, all of these guys from back in the day, studying their work, and everything that they don't, like Christians and probably all religions or people demonize what they don't understand. If they don't understand it, it's not of God, it's not in the Bible. which maybe it is in the Bible. You just haven't found it yet. And that's where I approach it from. And so I started studying under these guys, and everything was demonic. Aliens were demons. And then I found your work. And then I found David Wilcock. Then I found Greer, right? So you guys opened up a whole new realm of understanding as people who maybe approached it at the time, I thought, from a realm that was unbiased. You didn't have an agenda. You just looked at the information. You looked at the text. You looked at the experiences that people were having for what it was. And that was beautiful. So that's why I migrated from the Marzulis to you guys and fell in love with your work. And then recently, like a week ago, a friend of the family contacted my wife and myself and said that Len Marzulli was going to be in town, and he's coming to a church here, and thought that we would be head over heels to go. And I'm just like, I was like, my wife was like, hey, you want to go? She thought you'd be invited. I was like, I'm not going to that. Like, I know you would think I would want to, but there's like an agenda there. Like, there's an agenda to capitalize even off of the mainstream with the whole UFO phenomenon now. And I can just see them now talking about it. Yeah, you know, NASA just revealed the UFOs and these are demons, you know, and they're like, oh my God, it turns my stomach. I can't be affiliated. I can't be around that stuff. I don't know.
You know, the Nag Hammadi talks about this, and there's temple walls in Egypt, and they show the levels. They show all the levels, and they have the lower levels, and they show disfigured humans and people that really, you know, did a lot of bad things, you might say, in the lower levels, demonic type creatures. They have creatures that look just like Greys and reptilians. You know, the old statues have Mary stepping on the reptilian, you know, Michael stepping on the reptile. This is all, it's all there. You know, it's all there if you do the research. And you know, the frescoes, all these ancient frescoes have UFOs in them. It's undeniable. It shows
beautiful
Jesus being baptized, and this huge UFO sending golden light above Jesus being baptized. And so it's all there, but you have to get out of the programming. Do your own research, read the Bible, read the other scriptures, keep an open mind. And it's not, the devil's not going to, and God's not going to punish you for doing research, you know, do the research, get educated. And my thing is that when you know the true origin of man, it goes even further than that. Who created them? You know, and I'll tell you something, Michal Ledwith, who was an advisor to the Pope, he's a very good friend of mine, and he had access to all the catacombs and all those ancient texts and everything. And he just came out with a new book called Saving Jesus. And I really suggest a lot of Christians get this book and to understand the real research, the real history of Jesus. But he talks about the origin of God, the wrathful gods, and he talks about a greater God that created them. And in the true interpretation of Genesis, it says, in the beginning, the Father of all fathers created the gods who created the heavens and the earth. And Elohim, the name for God, has always been plural.
Yep.
So what are they saying here? You know, what are they? And I'm just saying, I'm not trying to tell everybody how to think. Just do your own research.
Yeah.
It's all there. And it goes, and then go get the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic.
Oh my God. It's beautiful.
Total different.
Oh my
it's
God.
So beautiful. It's a whole different, and it's cosmic in nature. It's much more expanded.
Yeah.
And so when we really do the research, and I bring that all the time, I go, here's the original.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. In
Aramaic. Listen to this. And people go, oh my God, you know, and they talk about, cosmic birther, you know, of all things. And there's, you know, the whole image of the bearded God goes back. Every religion has their bearded gods, the Greek gods, the Jewish, all those guys. Jehovah, the wrathful, you know, was one of them. And then you have Yahweh, the all-loving, all-forgiving. Yeah. And people have a hard time understanding this, but they're different beings. They behave differently. And we need to understand the real origin. And it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for some people. But we have to go back ultimately, who created them? Mm-hmm. You know, where did they come from? Yeah. Did they have a mother? You know, what about the house of Mary? You know, which was bigger than Jesus's teach group, you know, his disciples. There was a house of Mary, the divine feminine, that was actually bigger. and that's where he hung out all the time. And his teachings were always, he said, the temple is within. Ye are all gods, children of, of the Most High. What happens when you grow up, And when you grow up, you expand to become one with the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness that is within everybody. And that's what he taught. And he never taught to, you should not, the fear and the guilt and the unworthiness, that's the old program that we have to, and that's what controls the masses.
Yeah. It's something that when, those people who come from that understanding, the Christian realm, they love to talk about demons. I love to talk about demons. Like I'm down for that. I have a lot of information on them. I've dealt with them. Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've dealt with them. They exist. I'm not saying they don't exist.
But it's like they would rather talk about the demons than talk about the angels. Like if we can't have one discussion without the other. Why is there a demon around every corner, but there's not a helper spirit? There's not an entity of love and of light that's here to assist and to help. Why can demons manifest and contact people? Why do you get uncomfortable when we talk about the angels are doing that? And that the whole story of ufologies from a biblical perspective ties right in with angelology and all of these different types and rankings. And the scriptures talk about the host of heaven, which talks about the fleets of Yahweh, these chariots of fire that fly through the night skies. I mean, it's all in there and it's beautiful. So they get uncomfortable when we start talking about the angels. And I don't know why. You should be happy when we start talking about the angels, I
think it was Elijah ascended in a fiery chariot, and he used to go to the river Jabar and talk to the lights that came down from the sky. All that stuff is in there. And it's so interesting. I see over and over, when you really understand this and read the ancient scriptures, you'll find it's all in there. They're replete with experiences, but you have to read them with an open mind. Yeah. You can't apply the old superstitious dogma to it, or you'll never understand this. And I mean, there's so much in there. It's just unbelievable that I can't believe they're missing it. There's a big difference between going to church and having somebody tell you what to think versus doing your own research. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I said, don't have somebody tell you what to think. Do your own research and then start asking questions.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's why my podcast is doing so good right now. Maybe because that it's not like, hey, take my word for it. I've been to hell and back. I've got the scars to prove it. Trust me, this is what happens. Like, I am doing that, but I'm saying you can do it too. Like it's for you to encounter God. It's for you to have your own mystical experience. There's people, and I don't know if you've ran into them, I'm sure you have, who have had contact with ships and they're telling the truth, but their story is that they're the chosen ones. That they are the one to bring this information versus the story, I think the narrative of which you go out there and do CE5 encounters where you're saying, look, this is for everybody. If you want to know bad enough, it's here for you. It's all you got to do is look up. Simply as that's all you got to do. Take the time and do it. So people kind of get caught up in the whole Messiah complex of that's sad. That they're the chosen ones. That's a lesson for a lot of people too, because maybe you have to deal with those thoughts. Maybe those thoughts, even your mind. Maybe there was a point where it crossed your mind that you were the one to usher in something big. I don't know if you've had to deal with those.
Well, there are beings that they call faker spirits that will come in and they'll do flattery and they'll tell you you're the chosen one and everything else. But they're teaching separation. Yeah. And you got to stay humble. You have to stay humble because when you're humble, you're in service. And when you're in service, you're connected. But you get into your self-service and you're the chosen one. And then you get into all that nonsense. They got you. The other side's got you. And I see that happening over and over again. And I see that with so many people in spirituality and ufology as well. Yeah. And they're in it for all the wrong reasons, and that's gonna come back and bite them in the butt here real soon.
Before we go, I ain't gonna hold you up too long, James. I wanted to ask you about the whole thing with, like, they were seeing, you guys had footage and pictures of this type of not portal, but some type of opening in what is it, Mount Adams, that was opening and closing and getting smaller and smaller. And then there's all of this footage and these experiences you guys have had of ships coming out of the mountain and things like that. What all happened with that?
Well, it's a base, and they live underneath Mount Adams, just like Shasta and the Tetons and the
volcanoes and things as well.
Yeah, and they're Mexico. They're under the oceans. They're everywhere. They're based all over this planet. And some good ones were the benevolent ones are here, and some ones that were negative were here too. The good news is the benevolent ones are cleaning out the underground ones, the negative ones, and we're doing a major cleanup process. But where we are, it's a benevolent Stargate, and we have, the benevolent ones come and work with people. And the inner Earth, there's a huge, massive cavern underneath us that these ships come in and out of. And the last one we filmed was too big to go inside the door. It was a mile wide.
Wow.
And so it had to park outside. And so we got that whole thing on film. But these are the times, we're unifying with the greater family of man. They're bringing back universal law. This is what all the prophecies have talked about. The dark hearts are imploding, and, the age of tyranny is coming to an end. And this is what all the prophecies have talked about, the Mayan prophecies, everything. This is the ninth wave unity consciousness that's coming through, and we have to rise to the occasion.
Before we part ways, James, if somebody's listening to this and they're into it, they want to go to the next level, they want to make contact, they want to know that something's real, what's something that people can do tangibly to maybe have proof? What can they do to have their own encounter?
Well, we have all the information at the website. If they want to do the research, they can go to ECETI.org or ECETI Stargate on the YouTube channel and see that. But mainly just get out in nature and meditate and focus with your intent on connecting with the benevolent ones, the more spiritually and technologically advanced beings. If you put that intent out there and you meditate on that, eventually you're going to create that reality. But be specific, like set some ground rules, and you can call on Jesus or Buddha or Mary or Kuan Yin or whoever you want, to watch over, get your watch angel there if you need to make sure that you are working with the benevolent ones.
There was a time where, and I know it stuck out to me, because when I was just coming into meditation, you talked about going into deep meditation and communicating with beings. And then I think it was your sister came home and there was a ship hovering above the house. Yeah. Making contact with you.
Yeah. I thought I was talking to like angelic beings and things. And they said, actually, we're on a ship. And I go, okay, I've lost it, and I'm going to go out and dig and plant some trees or something. And I didn't even get to the front door. And my sister and her friends came up banging on the door and they said, you see it? And I said, see what? And there's a big light ship hovering right over the ranch. So a lot of people think they're being contacted by angels and things, and it could be like a fifth dimensional Pleiadian or a sixth dimensional Orion Council of Light being, or the Andromedans, which are mythologically known as archangels. They have magnetized light bodies, and they're 8 to 10 foot tall beings. So it's a big universe out there, and it's just not heaven and hell and God and the devil. It's much bigger than we can imagine.
Yep. James, I appreciate you hanging out with me, brother. We got to do it again soon, man. Thanks for coming.
All right.
on.
Thanks for having me on the show, and be kind. Only thing I can say is create heaven on earth and stay within universal law and be kind to each other. That's all we need to do to turn this planet around.
That's it. You heard the man. Check out his website. ECETI.org stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Make sure you guys go check out the work, the videos, all of this stuff. Tons of videos. I'm telling you, this is what got me. This is why I'm doing this podcast. This man right here, dude, you mean the world to me. You really do. I appreciate your work. I really do, man, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, bro.
Oh, thank you too for bringing this information out. It's so important right now.
All right, James. Good night, brother.
All right. Good night.
Shalom. Peace. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. James Gilliland, ECETI Ranch, and I mean it. It's not just some type of flattery. Like I'm doing what I'm doing because of that guy. Blame him. Don't blame me. Right? Man, when I was having my experiences years ago, this was back in 2011, 2012, found his work. Looking up UFOs and looking up things like that, and there was one video. It was a video by a guy named Prophet Yahweh. I don't know if that rings any bell. I'm trying to get him on the show, Prophet Yahweh. But he went out there and summoned a UFO for the news station. News stations went out there. This older black guy goes out there and puts his hands up in the air. And he says he's able to summon UFOs on command by using the Hebrew version of the Bible. So, and I'm having these weird studies in the Bible about UFOs and about angels and having encounters and piquing my interest in it. And I found that video. And this guy's, the news crew captures it. There's this orb that comes into focus and they film it and it blows everybody away at the news station. They're just like, oh, wow, this worked. Whatever he's doing, something worked. They checked the flight schedules. There was not supposed to be anything in the air at that time. And that video blew me away, Prophet Yahweh. And that just took me a little bit deeper and deeper in my studying. And then guess what? Reading the scriptures and studying, I went out and I tried to summon UFOs. I went out there and I read the Hebrew version of the Bible. And I studied the scriptures and started making contact. And I started having crazy encounters like this dude I seen on the internet, Prophet Yahweh. Was that dude a shell? I don't know. I have no idea. But I know that after watching that, it built my faith to go out there and do that. Then I was led to the work of Patrick Cook, rest in peace, who, man, BibleUFO.com, the biggest online database of UFO, paranormal, and spiritual experiences in the Bible. That website, BibleUFO.com, it doesn't exist anymore. You can find it on the back web or whatever, like the pages that were archived. And I've tried to put some of it on my site because his wife deleted everything once he passed, which was just a couple years back. And but his work, and he's just showing you all of these scriptures about spirits in the Bible. Different spiritual interactions that you never heard about, of different prophets encountering spirits that you wouldn't have known unless it was given to you in this context. Like, this is what this is. And you're able to read it. You're like, oh my God, this is insane. BibleUFO.com was amazing. And so all of that stuff was foundational for me. And then having those experiences, who am I supposed to talk to about it? My pastor, my friends. I tried to freak them all out. So I put it in my music, reached out to the fan base, started my own podcast. I made sure that, like, when I went to Bible studies and I went to church, that I wasn't talking about this stuff with people because I knew that it would freak people out. So I come home, I get on the internet and I do a podcast and I interview people and I get people on my show who are doing this stuff. And I talked to James Gilliland, and I remember reaching out to him and his staff, and I got in touch with Nate at the time, who was one of his assistants. And when I needed somebody to talk to, those guys were there, like, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind, just to make sure that I wasn't going crazy, that these weren't demons who were contacting me from another dimension to deceive me or something like that. And it helped me make sense of everything. James Gilliland, his humility that he brings to the table, it's like no other. And he's been blacklisted, he's been looked over, he's been all of that stuff by some of the bigger stations and stuff. He's been scheduled to be on Coast to Coast AM, and he's on the phone waiting, and they never put him on for like hours, like he's been there. So we talked about that stuff, man. And I really appreciate his work. So and I haven't talked to him since 2012, since I started having my awakening and kind of going to those next levels. So it was such a blessing to have him on. Like I said, just going to touch on some of the things that we have coming up. Like I said, I want to do one night a week. We're going to do online School of the Spirit, School of the Mystics, where we just get into it, where people need prayer. People are going through a lot of stuff that they can't explain. They need somebody to talk to. I make myself available, but it's going to be on an even deeper, more intimate level. With people, there's so many of you guys that I see the potential in, but I hear your stories and I hear what you're going through, and I know what comes next. We have to be able to formulate a game plan for you. We have to create a safe environment for you to try to test out your spiritual abilities in, your gift of prophecy, your gift of healing, your gift of dreams and visions and intuition and empathy. We have to create a safe environment for that. That's what I'm doing. Thursday nights, the School of the Spirit. It's going to be available for people supporting on Patreon. And I don't know if we're going to do it through Discord or Zoom video chat or what, but we're going to make it available. I'm talking to Adam Starseed. He's going to be helping me with it as well. You already know Christy Lee in her show. She's going to be promoting it, and she's going to be in with it. Dano, Leo. I've been talking to Leo about it. Leo called in from Woodhaven there earlier. I appreciate you calling, Leo. There's Nicole there in the chat room. All of these people are going to be a part of it. Nicole and Chris, and it's going to be good. We have to create a safe environment. That's where I came from. I came from a place of it was okay to try, and it was okay to fail. It was okay to mess up, and we would try to prophesy. We would try to pick up energies and move in the spirit of discernment on one another, and it was okay to mess up. There was grace there, and we learned, and I learned how to use it. Then guess what? In those safe places, I've been able to go out into the public and do it. And what we were doing in our home meetings, I was able to go out and do in Walmart. I was able to go into the doctor's office and do, and have a confidence and a faith that allowed me to go out and do that. So we're going to do it. Online School of the Spirit. I'm excited about it, and it's just trying to formulate it because I'm have all these people supporting. I get all these messages, and I'm able to see like the next level for a lot of people. But I just have to be able to go into a way of like have this confidence in you. Like I can be confident in you, but for you to be confident in yourself and kind of take it to the next level. We're going to do it. Online School of the Spirit. I'm going to do it on Thursday nights. We're going to do this. And Carolyn and Nicole and Matt are all commenting. Matt says, when's it going to start? It's going to start very soon. The next few weeks. You'll definitely be notified. Carolyn says, I always wonder about the powerful kind being felt. That's my home at a particular time. It when two benevolent male energy beings heard. You too, Carolyn, because I've been hearing you speak about energies and being empathic and intuitive, and there's a place for you. So we want to create a place where, because you guys are needed. Every single one of you guys who are listening, you are needed. There is a place for you. You're not forgotten. You're not alone, right? Maybe that's why this podcast is doing so well right now. It's just a place where you just know that, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not the only crazy person here. TruthSeekah's with me. There's lots of people listening to this show on the back end, on the iTunes and podcasting. There's so many people listening, so many people reaching out. We have to formulate something. All I'm doing is trying. I'm trying to get the vision. I'm trying to make it happen. And I thank you guys for being patient with me. I thank you guys for supporting me. To do that, to be affiliated with what we're doing, $1 a week. $1 a week. You know what I'm saying? I think anybody can do that just to help us pay for this stuff, and to also let us know that you care about it. You head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. I've been working on the website, working on new music as well. So I'm staying really busy trying to get all this info out there, and the gears are turning. There's so much to get out. I'm still working on the stuff I promised. I'm still working on the teachings that you guys are waiting on, the whole Jezebel thing. I haven't forgotten about it. I'm almost done with it. I have so much going on. We're going to address that too. Being single-minded with 1,000 visions. We're going to address that. It's many of you guys. That's why you're putting your hand to the plow in one thing, and you're good at it. And then there's this other thing. And then there's this other thing I'm good at. But I love this. And you got your hands in 17 different things. And you're a jack of all trades, but essentially become a master of none. So we're going to talk about focusing in on what works, keeping the faith, staying on the path, and moving in the spirit of consistency, authenticity, and excellence. That's what's working, guys. It's working. It totally is. That's what we're doing. 2018, I don't know if it came across as well, but he was talking about 2018 was essentially, according to the old calendar, 2012, that we're just now coming into the new energies. I can't vouch for that. I've done the research in the past, and there's many people who believe that. I will say this, there's a lot of people who are waking up right now. There's a lot of people who are having these encounters. There's a lot of people who have questions. There's a lot of people fed up with status quo. There's a lot of people who know that they were put here to do great things, and they have no idea how to get started. This is what we're doing, the School of the Spirit, man. TruthSeekah.com. There's going to be access links there, as well as just go to the Patreon and get plugged in with the community there. There's so much stuff. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Discord. Get familiar with that. That's a chat program that we can use to communicate, and it lets us know who all's online, and it's really cool. Discord is dope, and it's synced up with Patreon. I like that. I know Brett Stacy, he's listening. We've been chatting on there, building in discipleship and just encouraging one another. Let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, there's another. People want to know how they can support. There's many ways that you guys can support the show and support my work and what I'm doing. Obviously, buy the music, share the music, get the music out there, share the podcast, share the episodes, all of that good stuff. But financially, join Patreon. You get rewards, you get exclusive content, all kind of stuff. I'm trying to make it as interactive as I can. Also, I'm partnered with a website now who is giving me a kickback for everybody I send over there. If you want to buy crystals, you want to buy sage, you want to buy books and all of these things, it's essentially an Amazon portal, but go to smudgeyourself.com. Smudgeyourself.com. Smudging with sage. My room is littered with sage right now from my daughter in here burning it earlier. So smudgeyourself.com. There you can buy sage, copal resin, incense, frankincense, tarot cards. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. Whatever you want, you can buy it through that portal, and I get a kickback. They support what I'm doing. Smudgeyourself.com. Go check it out. That being said, there's so many ways you can support, and I'm going to do a video on just how you can support. And even for people who can't support financially, like there's that to discuss as well. There's free memberships that you can sign up that they give the podcast a kickback. All kinds of stuff. And I'm going to do a video explaining ways to do that. But yeah, my stream schedule is now posted on the website, TruthSeekah.com. Go there, and at the top, you'll see the stream schedule. And it's when I'm going live, so you can plan it. I usually try to do 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. And so some of the future interviews that I have planned right now are coming up. Another big thing, I'm partnering with some really big names out there. I'm been asked to be a guest on Project Camelot. That's a huge portal, just like James Gilliland. When I first started out, I ran into Project Camelot videos, and they want me on their show. I'm going to be doing an interview with Carrie Cassidy. I'll be sure to share that out when I go on her show. I just did another interview with our friends over at The System Is Down podcast. That was a great interview. He shared that, and as soon as he shared that interview, man, so many people left his group, man, because like the information he named the video "Opening Your Third Eye to Find Jesus," and that just messed people up. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of interviews lately. Ready to do a lot more. I enjoy talking about this stuff. So many ways to support. We're gonna keep doing it. Had that Jordan Maxwell interview. Had the James Gilliland interview. I got stood up for 2 other interviews the last 2 days, but we're not going to talk about that. But I'm going to be interviewed by Whitley Strieber, the man who wrote the wrote the book Communion, which was turned into a movie. His role was played by Christopher Walken. I'm going to be interviewed, but that movie scared the mess out of me as a kid. There's an alien scene in that movie that scared the mess out of me. I'm going to be interviewed by Whitley Strieber. I'm excited about that, man. That's a dream come true, really, right? Who would think about that as being like a 7-8-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid watching that movie, and then you're going to be interviewed by that guy when you grow up, like the person. I don't know. Synchronicity is beautiful. Life is beautiful. I'm also, Carrie Cassidy's going to be on my show too. So we're returning the favor. I'm going on her show. She's coming on my show. We're going to do it. You guys let me know if I should sell these things, these stickers, the little TruthSeekah stickers for you guys who are watching on video. Those of you guys who are listening on the podcast end, I'm holding up this little TruthSeekah sticker. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I got them on my Facebook. You got to follow me there. So anyway, all the good stuff. Adam, so happy you decided to join us, Adam. I just talked about the School of the Spirit, gave you a shout out, talked about us working together to formulate something. People in the chat room seem really interested in the School of the Spirit and us coming together. And then we're going to do some deep, in-depth teachings, but a lot of it too, I just want to just show up. I just want us to show up. Just to say, hey, first of all, to meet one another, so like the fans are meeting, that's cool. Right? And then to take it to the next level and just see what happens. We're just, it's the community. It's all it is. Reading these comments. Tulum Teles. I know I butchered that name. But it says, I need black tourmaline. Yes, go over to the website, smudgeyourself.com. I'll put it in the show notes as well. I'll share it on my Facebook, smudgeyourself.com. If you buy anything through that portal, through that, I get a kickback and they support my show. Thank you guys. I love each and every one of you, and we'll do it again soon. Trust me. I'm excited. Tomorrow night I'll be on Christy Lee's show doing that. You guys can call in for healing and prayer and all that good stuff. Follow me on Facebook if you have no idea what I'm talking about. I share all these links constantly. Shalom, shalom. Peace.
Your way is so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.